Hi there, my name is Lara. I am 43 and my sober date is December 14th, 2016. So I'm here to talk a little bit about my experience, my strength, my hope, what life was like before, what it's like now, and the gifts that I've found because of my commitment to betterment. I grew up in a medium-sized Canadian city. I have an elder sister who's 4 years older than me, and I have a mother and a father who, I had a great life growing up. I didn't really want for anything. We had activities and pets and vacations and, a pretty stable beginning, so to speak, from the exterior, right? My parents got divorced when I was 11, and there's a lot that contributed to who I am today. I could see early on in retrospect that I had tendencies and qualifications of being an alcoholic and an addict far before I ever had a substance to support that progress. I was born to a mother who had mental health issues and also was an addict. I didn't find that out until I was in my 20s, but I spent my first days of my life in withdrawal. I was in neonatal and started the days of my entire being fighting for my life. So that was quite the start, right? Now, you could get into all the messy details that we all have in common as people that are on this forum, but they're really not that necessary. There was a lot of conflict and chaos and upheaval and inconsistency in my early life. There was never really felt stable or peaceful. There was moments, for sure, but in general, it was a pretty chaotic life, volatile emotional exchanges between my parents made for the modeling behaviors to develop in me that wanted to please people. I wanted to not have conflict. I wanted everybody to be happy. I wanted there to be peace. I just wanted the fighting to stop and everybody to get along. So I learned very early on about how to try to be quiet, how to lie for other people, how to just really try to overachieve. I wanted to matter. I wanted to make people happy, and I wanted, life to be nice for my whole family. My mother left our family when I was 11, and she didn't just leave like other people divorce, to go down the street. She left the country, and I was at camp, and I didn't get to say goodbye. Fortunately, for my father's profession, he had the ability to implement help for my sister and I and our family. We grew up in the country, and he didn't want to disrupt our lives, but he was in the middle of establishing his profession. And he didn't really know who an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old were, really, and we didn't have access. So we were able to have help, like nannies and people to help us get to and from school, to have somebody there when we got home to do our homework, etc. Well, you can imagine that didn't go well with a burgeoning teenager and a teenager who had just had their lives upheaval. So we went through quite a few people that were helpful in 2 years. We went through 7 people, women, and that established the groundwork for learning very easy that people don't stay, learning the non-permanence of relationships, learning detachment. And as a young girl, I wanted to be attached. I wanted to connect. I didn't feel that way. It really, contributed to my inability to have commitment, healthy dynamics for myself. I didn't come to alcohol till later in life as an actual vice. I grew up in an Eastern European family, and there was always alcohol around. My father had an after-work beverage, then he'd have an after-dinner beverage. There was social functions. I started drinking wine with a little bit of ginger ale at the holidays from the age of 5, and it was not a non-issue. I had lots of academic involvement, extracurriculars, sports. I played a high level of athletics until my 20s. I went to university. I moved from my hometown to a larger urban center in Canada, Montreal, and I pursued my academics at a high level and my athletics at a high level. So I had a lot of routine and stability and sort of discipline and commitment. So that really established really healthy behaviors. Unfortunately, that was changed in my 20s. I had a very significant athletic injury that prevented me from my athletic goals and pursuit. In that moment, my whole life changed. I lived in an urban center. I was away from my family and my stable influences of parental figures, guardians, etc. I didn't have a routine anymore. I didn't have the discipline of going to practice and that sort of structure. I was young and cute and now on my own in a city that's exciting. And I delved into that. I started hanging out with different people and different groups, and I got exposed to the Montreal party life, and I really kept it at bay in a healthy way. It was really just social and fun and entertainment, and that's really how it started. I didn't do drugs or drink in my teenage years aggressively or problematically because I had other goals. I lived in the country. I had a car. That was a privilege. I didn't want to ruin that by drinking and driving. I do remember sneaking alcohol out of my father's house when I was 14 years old to go on a group date to bowling on Valentine's weekend, and I snuck the most disgusting liquor that I could think that wouldn't be missed, and I went and drank it like someone who's does not know how to drink. And it was a disgusting display that later occurred. And in that moment, I created a lot of chaos at that bowling alley with everyone. And I threatened the bowling alley man for the shoes aggressively and used an X-Acto knife to wield. And then I ended up cutting myself. And fortunately for me, cutting is not part of my story, but I could see the indication in retrospect that my story is about self-harm. My story is about not feeling worth it, not having an outlet for my pain, and having no idea how to navigate internal pain in the world. And so I remember cutting myself and feeling relieved. And in that moment, I began to display masochistic behavior of self-destruction. I did not know that would lay the groundwork for every other masochistic, self-destructive vice I could find, whether it was relationships that were abusive and toxic in a romantic partnership, whether it was abusive relationships in platonic girlfriend relationships, whether it was becoming a workaholic and not knowing when to say no because I would rather die than quit and disappoint somebody. I was an athlete. I was conditioned to dig deeper, go harder, find more, not quit. And as a young girl who only ever wanted to achieve and please and find value, that mindset has contributed and negatively affected who I am. And becoming okay with myself has taken 40 some odd years. I continue to, entertainingly consume alcohol and drugs through my 20s in a pretty responsible, normal, youthful way. I worked in a profession that was a bit fringe, so it was really part of our lifestyle. We drank after work, we did drugs after work, we hung out. My weekends were not your weekends, so I had 5-day weekends. I didn't do it in a way that I got, I wasn't institutionalized, I wasn't arrested, I didn't get a DUI. So like it really was not evidently problematic. It was excusable. I had tendencies, right? But I didn't. It was really just the beginning of the house of cards that I was building quite well. And I slowly got more and more deeper into consumption of various things, and it got more and heavier, and the volume increased, and the severity of my choice of drug intake got stronger. And still, I didn't drink before work, I didn't drink after work, I didn't do drugs before work or after work, but I definitely made up for time in the consumption afterwards. So it was not good. I was married, I got divorced. I did not get married to get unmarried. It was a really big shock to me. And I refer to 2015 as the year that tried to kill me. I was displaced. I moved to a new town where I didn't know anybody. I had taken a contract job because I was supposed to be taking another job with my husband later. So all of a sudden I found myself alone in a really big home that was supposed to be full of a family, and I didn't know anybody. It was winter. I didn't have a job anymore. I lost both my grandparents that year. My best friend got diagnosed with cancer. I had to put my dog down, and I'm in the middle of a divorce I didn't see coming. And I really leaned in to drugs and alcohol and what they gave me in terms of being my best friend, being that escape, being that void fill, being that comfort, and also punishing myself for all of this pain. And I didn't want to meet anybody. I didn't want anybody to see this version of me. So I started to really isolate. I met people who were like me. I met other alcoholics. I met other addicts. And I really connected with those people. And a year later, I reached a point where that conflict was so much. It was just evident. I was not myself. I was starting to make decisions based on my addictions. Like, I didn't want to go places because they didn't drink like me. Or did I have to drive there because I'd have to get home? So should I even go? You know, I was moody. I was irrational. I wasn't myself. I was unhealthy looking. I was bloated. I was in pain. I didn't sleep well. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. And I remember very clearly one day, I wasn't exposed to programs in my life. I wasn't given this information. I didn't have examples of people who had any sort of path to betterment through a structure. I had outside help of counsel and guidance, medical assistance, things like that, but not an approach of a 12-step program. It was December. I had gone to a family Christmas party in the afternoon, and I was a mess. A right mess. That night I got in a fight with my boyfriend at the time, and I woke up that Monday and I remember something in my mind just saying, no, like stop, just stop. What is this? There's more. No. I just remember this weird voice. And all of a sudden I had the inkling to look for a phone number of a program that I had never even considered before. I used to walk by churches with people in the parking lot at 8 p.m. drunk with my dog, with my traveler, thinking, why are those people in that parking lot? Little did I know that I would see them later. And quite foreshadowing and poetic, I think. But I called that number and I left a message. And I went to work the next day and I got a call back. And I worked in a collective space. I took that phone call in a storage closet for privacy. I wrote down the information that was on the other side of that person calling me back. And I went home and I made a commitment to go to a meeting the next night. And I went. And I got the time wrong. I thought it was at 8, it was at 7. I got there, everyone was leaving. I thought, oh my God, I can't even do this. I went home. I wallowed about it, I had a bath, and then I went the next day and got it right. And I've never looked back. Fortunately for me, I somehow, but by the grace of God, would say, I just kept coming back. I kept an open mind, and I committed to this because I knew that the two constants in my life were me and the consumption of drugs and alcohol. And I didn't want to eliminate me, so I had to eliminate that. And I had to give that a really honest, committed chance. So I went everywhere. I worked on the road, so I went to every meeting I could find in the geography that I had. I went in different towns at different times, everything I could to just really do as much as I could, using the things that I was being exposed to and the tools. And it took about 6 months of commitment until I got a real good mentor and really started to do the suggestions that were given to me. And that was life-changing. That was life-changing. I learned so much about myself, and I was terrified about the information I was finding, but I also was feeling really, really good about it, because for the first time in my life, I felt proud of myself. I felt like I was doing something worthwhile, and I felt like I was doing something that was healthy, and I was learning that I was worth it. And that was a big deal, because I never felt valuable or worthwhile, or that I really mattered, right? I felt discarded or abandoned or rejected or whatever. We have all these things in common. But I started to get self-love. I started to get confidence. And I realized quickly that my commitment to growth along spiritual lines and not putting pollution back into my body and mind and spirit was done by me, for me, and I was the only one who was going to be able to take it away. And I loved that, because it didn't matter. It didn't matter. I didn't want to lose that. No, nothing could happen to me that I needed to give that up. And I felt so accomplished that I was committed to this. I was committed to that commitment. And now I was having evidence of my life turning around. I was happier. I was getting healthier. I was starting to have money. I was, a better person. I was able to show up for people. I was being able to be responsible, dependable, and just less shameful and guilt-ridden. And it was great. So for me, that was awesome. And life became hard. This was not easy. There was a lot of trips along the way. This was not a really, perfectly paved path. I made really bad decisions and made some significantly challenging mistakes that could have been very threatening to the commitment of my sobriety. Fortunately for me, that did not include putting substances back into my life, but it really wasn't good behavior at a long time. However, I grew and learned to forgive myself that I was a human and I had to figure this out. And I had a lot of guidance, and I started to lean into the right people. I found my people, and I discovered connections like I've never discovered. I found friendships that were given to me freely, just because I was me, not because somebody wanted something from me or that I wanted something from them. There was no agenda. It was just honest and real. And I loved it because I felt seen, and I felt acknowledged, and I felt helpful, and it was beautiful. And for me, life now is great. It's not without challenge at all. I've buried people. I've lost jobs. I've lost friendships. I've changed communities. I've been physically, my health has changed as I've gotten older. I've had many conflicts. I've had relationships that dissolve as well. But at the end of the day, nothing can make me use or drink again, because my life would not be at all manageable if I did that. So as hard as my day is now, and any given day that's tough, it would be way worse if I participated in those behaviors that I used to do. And now I don't have to do that anymore. And it's so liberating. And one of the things that we say in one of the programs that I'm in is happy, joyous, and free. And I can finally say that I am free of the bondage that I had of my own design, my own perception. I have a disease of perception. I personalize everything. I can catastrophize everything. I can get into my crap in 2 seconds. I live in my recovery. I live in the solution now. I don't live in the drama. My life is calm. My life is conflict free. I don't even remember the last time I had a fight or an argument or like even a heated discussion. It's great. And I used to fear boredom. I don't fear boredom anymore. I now think of it as a gift of recovery. I think of it as the gift of calm. I think of it as an opportunity to be okay with myself because I've done the work that allows me to sit with myself in peace. I'm not uncomfortable in my own skin anymore. I don't look for external validation anymore. I don't criticize myself as hard as I used to on a regular. I still have negative narrative that pops into my head. I'm still a human being. I still get affected and triggered and raw nerves are rubbed. And I just think of those as indications of the work that I still have to do. And I think of feelings now as messengers of unhealed information. So when I get angry, I'm not angry, I'm just fearful, or I'm in pain, and there needs to be some work there. So when I have a feeling, I know that there's a deduction there of fear or love. And so I quickly figure out where that is so that I can navigate it with peace. I'm not emotionally crazy anymore. I don't have huge mood swings. I don't overly react. I'm not defensive anymore. I'm much more logical, which has allowed me to have really deep friendships now. Now I don't just have surface friendships. I have valuable connections with human people, and I genuinely feel loved until I loved myself. And now all I want to do is let other people know that's available. It's available. You're worth the work. You are allowed to be loved. You're allowed to feel important. You're allowed to feel happy. You're allowed to feel proud of yourself. And you're allowed to do it as quickly or as slowly as it comes to you, because it's your life. And as far as I know, I only get one. So for me, I misused a lot of time. So now I try to live it one day at a time in the fullest way, making the next right decision as often as I can. And I thank my program, I thank the people in the program, and I thank my commitment to this process. I thank myself for this, for myself, because I'm the only one doing it. I'm not alone, but I have to do this for myself. No one else can do this for me. And I have to make that decision every day I wake up. As much as I am Lara, a woman who stands 5'6", I am also an addict and an alcoholic. There's limitations and there's awesome possibilities in all of those facts. It's cool. I don't have a stigma around it anymore. I don't hold the scarlet letter A of alcoholic and addict anymore. I think it's awesome. I put it on my cape instead of wearing it as a scarlet letter, because for me it's allowed me to be compassionate, to be relatable, to have understanding and humility and non-judgment, and to meet people where they are, and to just accept myself as well as others. And I'm excited about all the rest of it. I have 4 years plus a bit of this commitment, and I don't plan on changing that amount of time chronologically and consistently, but I can't worry about the future right now. All I know is that today I'm clean and sober, and I'm happy, and I'm grateful to be here, and I feel honored to be able to have a voice for a process that works. It works for thousands of people. So if this is something that you're interested in, lean in, find out more, because you're really worth it. It takes a lot, but it's so valuable. And I just wish everybody a better day than they had yesterday. So thanks for letting me share.